Count Manuel Cortez Mosberg. According to the plaque, he had started a branch of the family that settled in Spain, in the autonomous community of Andalusia, but his line of succession had become extinct by the end of the 16th century for reasons not clearly specified. Archbishop Mosberg da Molina. Judging by his size, I imagine that he loved ham more than God. And there was more. It seemed that his love for food was second only to his lust for women. He even forged a motto about it. The love of the Lord must be experienced in every form to be truly grasped. This obsession of his, together with his size, caused him to die of heart failure at a not very advanced age. I recalled the story told by the maid. Was this Molina perhaps the inspiration for Catherine's prank? Well, the broken heart didn't match. I had just discovered the words the kid had used to scare the maid to death. I thought I could tie some clothes to the radiator, creating a handmade rope that might lower me from the window, and the tycoon's room was directly underneath. A risky plan indeed. On the other side, I had walked across a wooden board suspended in midair the previous day, and I like to be consistent. I just had to take some more clothes downstairs. With what I had with me, I was sure I could scare Lupe to death. I held my breath. Don't look down, Lars. Don't look down. It was time to terrorize that poor woman beyond all limits.
My God, who's there?
You know who I am, woman.
Archbishop Molina?
As God be my witness, verily it is me. My imitation of medieval language is pitiful, but I never bothered taking a course.
But por qué you have come to me?
Thy beauty beckoned me back to this vivid land, and to its call I shan't resist.
But you are a ghost, and yo soy alive.
Ooh, we can easily remedy that, can't we? She was totally spooked. If the words had opened a crack, the bloody heart would kick the door down. The woman took off like a race car at the green light. Well, at that point, I had to find something. I had to find it fast before she could call for help. The bed was made, and it didn't seem to hide anything peculiar. There wasn't anything under there, not even dust. The cleanliness of that house was unnerving. The house owner's educational qualifications, too specialized to be fond of him. They were mainly books on shipyard management, the economy, the oil market. Their titles alone made me yawn. Eric Mosberg wanted to keep me out of his room at all costs, so it had to be hiding something. I sensed immediately, thanks to that irrational sixth sense that always assisted me at crime scenes, that something was hidden in that desk. With the light on, I saw a little engraving in a corner of the desk. The engraving seemed to resemble the shape of the desk, but every row of drawers was marked by a musical key and a series of Roman numerals. I remembered seeing the sheet music previously on Catherine's piano. What if the musical references were connected somehow? Books on oil drilling. High literature. The engraving I found on Molsberg's desk contained a musical reference that seemed to match those on the sheet music. I realized that the two clues were connected. The sheet music was the key that would let me unravel the secrets hidden in that desk. I remembered Molsberg's words when he confessed to me that he knew nothing about music. Thankfully, because I was a disaster too. The sheet music, therefore, had to conceal a code not strictly connected to music. The musical notes must have to be interpreted another way. Ruling out the 2 erased lines of the pentagram, 3 remained, each marked by a different musical key. Were the notes on the sheet music a reference to the drawers of the desk? I also noticed something written on top, Allegro aperto. In music, that means something like a cheerful open. The engraving seemed to resemble the shape of the desk, but every row of drawers was marked by a musical key and a series of Roman numerals. I knew that desk was hiding something. With my hands shaking with emotion, I grabbed the folder. I was prepared for anything, but what I found on that paper left me speechless.
What do you think you're doing in my room? Who let you enter?
Normally, I'd have a pair of sarcastic answers for you, but right now, I've completely lost my sense of humor. How do you explain this?
This is an abuse of power! You snuck in here and rummaged through my private documents without a warrant.
You keep on dodging the questions that really matter, Mr. I have a broken heart, please bring my daughter back. Your daughter was pregnant, and you knew that. And on top of that, you concealed the documents that proved it. I don't know if it's clear enough, but this makes you the prime suspect on my list. Who's the father? The guy in the picture I showed you? Answer me, goddammit!
Enough! Leave this residence immediately and never come back. And I assure you, you'll be hearing from me very soon.
I could say the same thing. So young Catherine was pregnant at the time of the kidnapping. Was it possible that was the motive? And what was her father's role in the whole story? Had he hidden the medical records to preserve his daughter's dignity, or to hide a motive that would have been a red flag for the authorities? Night had fallen by then. Initially, I thought of going straight to bed and falling asleep. Then, I was suddenly struck by a brilliant idea.
We're switching over to local news now, where we direct your attention to a curious case that happened today in West Miami. The well-known Chef Tony was arrested after many clients in his restaurant began showing worrying physical symptoms. The police report has identified the cause of the patron's collective discomfort as some meatballs, apparently prepared using dog meat. The chef defended himself, claiming he had given instructions for the making of the dish to an elusive sous chef, of whom no traces can now be found. What can we say? If it's a pet-friendly local establishment you're looking for, Tony's Restaurant could really be your thing.
Yeah, absolute #1, intern.
Isn't that because you're playing against yourself, Mr. Number One?
If someone had tried socializing rather than carrying around her job, we would not still be here arguing about it. So at the current state of things, I am the undisputed #1, and that's that.
In the meantime, your someone might have found something by analyzing the picture that was slipped under your door. I couldn't find any information on the man in the company of Catherine Molsberg, but the logo visible on the building gave me a lead to follow. It's a decommissioned factory belonging to a company called Fallen Rose, for which I've written the address down. Unfortunately, there was no way to...
Yes, all right. It's all very compelling. But we'll think about the factory tomorrow. Now put down that infernal device and let me see what you've got.
You really had it coming, small-time detective. What do you think about that?
That was beginner's luck.
And this?
That was clearly a foul. I found a surprise waiting for me.
Mr. Bundy, I was just looking for you.
Am I late with the rent?
The rent is the least of your problems right now. There are people, Mr. Bundy, who find your investigation really bothersome.
I'm listening.
Cooperate, and maybe there will be no unpleasant consequences. Many influential forces are at work in this story, Mr. Bundy.
I'll take the bait. What do these forces at work want from me?
That you don't try to push beyond your capabilities. That you accept your place as an insignificant exile and spend the rest of your life in the shadows. You have a choice to make, Bundy. Choose wisely.
Okay, I quit the case. Really, it's not a matter that concerns me. I'm sorry for the girl, but in the end, these things happen. The important thing is that they don't happen to yourself.
You just made the best choice of your life. Oh, Bundy. Just some advice. Let this be our last meeting.
The guy had been clear and explicit. I could be sure that if I didn't comply with his demand for answers, he'd kill me without giving it a second thought. My rational sides urged me to really let it go. Goodbye case, goodbye challenge, goodbye unsolved mysteries, and goodbye Catherine. But no, I couldn't leave that girl to her destiny. Her father did something horrible to her. He had hidden the truth from the world, maybe even going so far as having his own flesh and blood kidnapped or even killed. No way I'll give up. I am up against the wall.